الحسين وعلى علي ابن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. السلام عليكم جميعا ورحمة الله. I'd like to begin by sending my condolences to the Imam of our time and the Ummah on the events of Karbala and Ashura and Muharram. To begin tonight's program, I would like to call upon Brother Hijaz to enlighten our hearts with verses of the Holy Quran. Salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الذين كفروا لهم عذاب شديد والذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات لهم مغفرة وأجر كبير. أفمن زين له سوء عمله فرآه حسنا فإن الله يضل من يشاء ويهدي من يشاء فلا تذهب نفسك عليهم حسرات إن الله عليم بما يصنعون. والله الذي أرسل الرياح فتثير سحابا فسقناه إلى بلد ميت فأحيينا به الأرض بعد موتها والله الذي أرسل الرياح فتثير سحابا والله الذي أرسل الرياح فتثير سحابا فسقناه إلى بلد ميت فأحيينا به الأرض بعد موتها فتثير سحابا فسقناه إلى بلد ميت فأحيينا به الأرض بعد موتها كذلك النشور من كان يريد العزة فلله العزة جميعا من كان يريد العزة فلله العزة جميعا إليه يصعد الكلم الطيب والعمل الصالح يرفعه والذين يمكرون السيئات لهم عذاب شديد ومكر أولئك هو يبور والله خلقكم من تراب ثم من نطفة ثم جعلكم أزواجا ثم جعلكم أزواجا وما تحمل من أنثى ولا تضع إلا بعلمه وما يعمر من مُعَمَّرٍ ولا ينقص من عمره إلا في كتاب إن ذلك على الله يسير صدق الله العلي العظيم.
Thank you very much, Brother Hijaz, for that beautiful recitation. Jazakallah khair. May Allah bless you both in this life and the next. Last night, our dear Shuyukh discussed Imam Hussein's departure from Medina towards Kufa, and they discussed the significance of his journey and the context of what was happening at the time, and in particular, the Khilafah of Yazid ibn Muawiyah. And tonight, inshallah, they will be discussing Muslim ibn Aqeel, who was sent to Kufa by Imam Hussein a few days before his own departure as a sort of representative. And on that line, we'll also be linking this topic, inshallah, to how we can represent our Imam in a foreign land. So I'll hand over to our esteemed speakers for tonight, His Eminence Sheikh Hamad Waqar, Sheikh Ali Safdari, and Sheikh Muhammad Dahaini. Salla ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا ونبينا أبو القاسم محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين. Assalamu alaikum, brothers and sisters. As always, it's an honor to be with you guys, and especially to be in the presence of my two dear Shaykhain here, Sheikh Muhammad Dahaini and Sheikh Ali Safdari. We're going to be speaking, inshallah, about Muslim ibn Aqeel today, and we're going to focus on representing the Imam in a foreign land. Yesterday, we spoke about the importance of sacrifice. Tomorrow, we're going to speak about repentance. But tonight, representing the Imam in a foreign land. Now, when Muslim ibn Aqeel, when Imam Hussein alayhi salam received the letters that he received from the people of Kufa, many, many letters, he could have right then and there said that the people of Kufa are behind me, and I'm going to go towards them, and I'm going to, inshallah, reach Kufa, and then we're going to start the movement from there. But he didn't do that. Instead, he sends his cousin to Kufa in order to investigate. This was an aspect of caution that we might touch upon later on. When he sent him away, there's one sentence that Sheikh Muhammad Dahaini showed me, which was interesting, where the Imam addresses Muslim ibn Aqeel, and he says, I wish that we would be joined in the ranks of the shuhada, right? And this kind of shows that the Imam knew what was going to happen, and we all know that the Imam reached or achieved this desire. Now, when Muslim reached Kufa, he stays in the house of Mukhtar, and later on of Hani ibn Urwa. While he first reaches there, he's warmly welcomed into Kufa as the representative of Abi Abdullah al-Hussein, Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Thousands pay allegiance to the Imam with Muslim, and Muslim leads the 5 daily prayers in Masjid Kufa. So whoever's been on ziyarat and you pray in Masjid Kufa, all the history that's there, one of the aspects of this history is Muslim ibn Aqeel. Inshallah, next time you go, try to remember him. Now, when Muslim investigates and sees that all of these people welcomed him, pledged allegiance to the Imam through him, he sent a letter to Imam Hussein alayhi salam confirming the letters that the people of Kufa sent to him before. And obviously, he will regret this letter later on. One of the interesting points is that when Muslim ibn Aqeel had a following, when he had support, he could have decided to rise up and overthrow the governor of Kufa at that moment. He could have said, Mukhtar, Hani, let's join together, let's overthrow this governor. Let's take over Kufa, and then when Imam Hussein alayhi salam comes, we'll just give it to him. But let's do this. Now, the ulama have come and they've given a few reasons as to why he didn't do that. So one of the reasons is he discussed it with the heads there, the elite, and they decided that it wasn't the best move to make. Another reason was that he didn't have political aspirations. A third reason is that he didn't have permission from the Imam. His duty was to investigate the truthfulness of the letters that the people sent to the Imam and nothing more. So he's going to fulfill the duty and not do something that Imam Hussein alayhi salam did not order him. maybe Imam Hussein alayhi salam didn't want Muslim ibn Aqeel to strike the first blow and then Imam Hussein to look like he's the aggressor, right? Maybe that would change the course of history. So Muslim ibn Aqeel realized that, nope, I'm going to do the duty that the Imam gave me, and that's it. Now, the governor of the time, his name was Nu'man ibn Bashir. He realized that Muslim posed a threat to his authority, but he saw that Muslim was not after power, which is another support as to why Muslim didn't try to overthrow the government. And because of this, he decided not to take any action. But his inaction upset Bani Umayyah. So there are members of Bani Umayyah who were there, Umar ibn Uqba, Umar ibn Sa'd, may Allah curse them. They decided to send letters to Yazid and to inform Yazid of Muslim ibn Aqeel alayhi salam's actions and the inaction of the governor. Yazid, who is scared of all forms of opposition, and his tactic is to violently squash any form of opposition to his rule, he immediately dismisses Nu'man and gives the governance of Kufa to Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad, with instructions to assassinate Muslim and his sympathizers. So Ibn Ziyad comes to Kufa. There's some narrations that say he was dressed as Imam Hussein and people got confused. But regardless, he comes and he tells everyone to go to the masjid for Fajr prayers. And after the prayers, he gives a talk and he says that anyone who brings Muslim to dead or alive to me will be rewarded. And this changed the entire environment of Kufa. Now we know the rest of the story, and inshallah at the end of this session, Sheikh Tahani will lead us into the Masa'ib, and Hajj Muhammad Abbas Verji will continue with the Masa'ib of Muslim ibn Aqeel alayhi salam. But I just want to mention one more point before we open up our discussion. One of the last things, or one of the last interactions, not the last, but one of the last ones, after Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad, may Allah curse him, captures Muslim ibn Aqeel, he addresses him and he says, I heard you came to Kufa to cause division and corruption. Muslim ibn Aqeel responds, Ma lahada atayt. I did not come for that. وَلَكِنَّكُمْ أَظْهَرْتُمُ الْمُنْكِرِ وَدَفَنْتُمُ الْمَعْرُوفِ. But since wrong is seen from you and you have buried the right, I've come to them in order to bid them the right and forbid them the wrong. And inshallah, Amr bil Ma'ruf wa Nahy anil Munkar will be one of our topics in the later nights. But for tonight, we want to look at representing the Imam in a foreign land. We know that Muslim ibn Aqeel alayhi salam was the representative of Imam Hussein alayhi salam in the land where the Imam wasn't present. And when we look at ourselves, we're also representatives of the Imam al-Zaman alayhi salam. And I want to just kind of examine and look at that and see, are we acting as a representative should act? Can we even claim that we're representatives? And let's learn from the story of Muslim ibn Aqeel and from the history to try to learn what a representative looks like. Now, Sheikh Ali Saftari, I know one of the aspects of representing the Imam is being a reflection of the Imam. Muslim ibn Aqeel alayhi salam reflected the Imam. Is that something that we should be doing here in Sydney? And how should we be doing that?
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم عظم الله أجورنا وأجوركم. The story of Muslim ibn Aqeel has many different aspects, and every time you go back to history, you're able to uncover something new about the story. And with regards to your question on how Muslim ibn Aqeel was a reflection of the Imam, he did all that he could do within the authority that he was given by the Imam to manage the affairs of the Imam in its political sense. If you recall, last night we spoke about this issue as well, that Imam told the people of Kufa that I'll be sending you my cousin, an ambassador, Muslim ibn Aqeel, so he can verify the veracity of your statements. And if you are, as you say, and you are truthful to your proposition to me, invitation to me, then I shall join you and we shall unite under the banner of truth and God to form a government. So with the personality of Muslim ibn Aqeel is no small and minor personality. It wasn't just anyone that Imam Hussein alayhi salam sent. He possibly sent one of his feast commanders that if he was present in the battlefield in Karbala, he would be one of the warriors would also remember in the tragedy as well. Nonetheless, he fulfilled an important duty and he tried to reflect the Imam in the best of ways possible. And you know, the mirroring analogies we can draw from Muslim ibn Aqeel to our times is profound. Muslim ibn Aqeel, he did receive letters from the Imam. Unfortunately, we do not receive letters from Imam al-Zaman. That would be beautiful if we could, but we don't. Nonetheless, he was very distant. There wasn't internet, there wasn't the fastest form of communication was the horse, and it took a few days, if not longer than a week, for communication to happen. So there are periods of time where Muslim ibn Aqeel has to act according to his own accord with the principles that he is taught. And he is trusted by the Imam to reflect him in the best manner possible. And I feel like that is a responsibility that falls onto many of us. I remember when we were discussing this earlier as well, Sheikh Muhammad Dahaini brought up a point about how there should be a compatibility between the message and the bearer of the message, which I want him to explain once again for us, and how that plays an important role in how the message is communicated.
عظم الله أجرنا وأجوركم إن شاء الله بمصاب سيدنا مولانا أبي عبد الله الحسين عليه السلام. Brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum. Thank you, Sheikh Ali, for that, and Sheikh Hamid. Without repeating much of what has been said, and like Sheikh Ali mentioned, the story of Muslim is such a significant story because there's so many angles one can speak about it from. So, you know, each individual story that has already been mentioned and the narrations that have already been mentioned, we can look at it from different angles and see different sides of beauty of Muslim. For example, in what Sheikh Ali had just mentioned, that if you look at the message of Muslim Aqeel, the message of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, firstly, when is, you know, there's fundamental things we have to understand before Muslim arrives to Kufa. Number one is that Kufa, the people of Kufa had been asking for Imam Hussein alayhi salam to come for a long time, and after sending messages after messages, Imam Hussein alayhi salam finally agrees, and without asking Muslim, this is very, very, very significant. Without speaking to Muslim and getting his opinion, he writes a note saying what Sheikh Hamid had mentioned earlier to the people of Kufa, saying that this is, I have sent to you my brother and my trusted one. And he started to characterize Muslim Aqeel, and he sends then he asks for Muslim. He says, Muslim, I'm sending you on a mission. And this mission is a great mission, because we mentioned last night, we said that Imam Hussein alayhi salam's goal was revolt and to revive the message of Islam and to revive the religion of his grandfather. Either it was going to be accomplished through shahada, through martyrdom, or it was going to be accomplished through divine government. The government, to establish that there was going to be war, and the army that Imam Hussein alayhi salam was depending on was coming mostly from Kufa. So this recruitment process is essential to the message, essentially. So what type of person is Imam Hussein alayhi salam choosing? The messenger in this situation, this context, is someone profound, someone that can hold and bear and withstand great pain and great torment, because he's on a mission that ultimately is going to lead into shahada, into martyrdom. He says, Muhammad tells him, he says, وَجَعَلَنِي وَإِيَّاكَ مِنَ الشُّهَدَاءِ. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us shahada, you and I together. And so ultimately that's the end goal. So Muslim al-Aqeel, without hesitation, he goes to Kufa. When he arrives in Kufa, he's met by, and this is very important. This is so important because, like Sheikh Hamid and Sheikh Ali were just mentioning, we are, we are today claiming what Ahl Kufa were claiming against to the Imam. We are claiming something to Sahib al-Zaman. We are claiming a level of love, and we are claiming a level of, as Shia today in this society, in this world, we are claiming to love Sahib al-Zaman. We are claiming to wait for him. We can't wait for his arrival and his reappearance, and we pray, Allahumma ajil li waliyik, because we want to revive this message of Islam with Sahib al-Amr. So these people had agreed, and they had asked for Hussein alayhi salam, and Muslim had arrived. What happened in Kufa in that time frame for the whole situation to change, for Muslim to end up by himself, thrown off the qasr, thrown off the building? There has to be something significant. And this is where what enters: man, human, us, and our desires, and our fear, and our khawf, and our lack of iman. Ahl Kufa loved Imam Hussein alayhi salam with their mouths. But when it came to action, when it came to, see, at the beginning, before Ubaydullah bin Ziyad comes, the people had their comfort. They were okay. They could say they loved Imam Hussein alayhi salam. But when Ubaydullah bin Ziyad came and they were under threat, who was claiming to love Imam Hussein? Besides that very, very small group of elites. So Muslim now, he's in a place and he's trying, if you read the history of how Muslim was conducting this message and how he was trying to begin this recruitment process. Yes, his mission was a recruitment process, and to bring all those people that had sent those letters to Imam Hussein alayhi salam, to bring them and prepare them as an army, to compile the forces of these different tribes, because there are many different tribes in Kufa, many different groups and many different leaders. And within the same tribe, you had people that were for Bani Umayyah, people that were against Bani Umayyah. And it's a very tribalistic time in Arabia. So Muslim was the foundation and the fact that's going to unite all of these tribes, very similar to the message of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So that was the first part of the mission, of going and accomplishing what Imam Hussein alayhi salam had asked him to do. But the second part was also very important. The second part of the mission was, okay, now you've got the people, they've told you, they want me. You've sent me the letter. Imam Hussein alayhi salam saying, you've sent me the letter. Now I want you to prepare my army. Now I want you to bring them together. And that is a stage of the mission of Muslim that wasn't able to be accomplished because of Ibn Marjana, Ubaydullah bin Ziyad. So, up until the martyrdom of Muslim, he was portraying key qualities. Like, for example, Imam Hussein asked him to be kind. He says, make sure you are always kind. Make sure you always you watch out for your secrecy. Make sure you are always honest. Make sure you do not tell the people what the truth is, because people don't know that Imam Hussein is coming to Kufa yet. People don't understand what's happening in Mecca and Medina. People don't understand the revolution yet. He needs the elites to be on the same page. So the secrecy and the wisdom of Muslim Aqeel and the bravery and the courage of knowing exactly how to act, when to act, and where to act is what's phenomenal, because in today's age, that's our goal. We're in a land, we're meant to be the representatives of the Imam. We have to know how to act, where to act, what to do, how to respect others, how to be kind, and how to maintain. Okay, I don't want to speak for too long. Let the sheikhs continue, so we don't spend the whole time on this point. But Muslim Aqeel had phenomenal traits, and it's our wajib as Muslims today to model the success of Muslim and model the quality and the character of Muslim.
There's a question that has been raised, which I think you pretty much answered this question already as you were talking. The question says, how could the people of Kufa be, I'm trying to read this on my phone, it's pretty small, but be hoodwinked by one person, kind of. And I feel that before Ubaydullah ibn Ziyad came, just as you said, it was comfortable to follow Imam Hussein alayhi salam. After Ubaydullah ibn Ziyad came, now it became dangerous. And that danger is kind of what changed the situation. But I feel that you answered that well as you were speaking.
On that point, Sheikhna, just to clarify something very important, actually, that's a very, very nice question, is that Muawiyah, so the person that was the wali at the time, Nu'man, Bashir, was it? No,
Ibn Bashir, yeah.
Ibn Bashir, he was using the politics of Muawiyah. He was using that type of politics. Bashir was Muslim, was in the house of Mukhtar, which was the brother-in-law of Nu'man ibn Bashir. So he was using the siyasa and the politics of Muawiyah, and that's not to kill or to fight the grandchildren of the Holy Prophet. So when Yazid finds out, he sends Ubaydullah because he needs someone to carry out his orders the way he likes it, like you mentioned, Sheikh. So that was a very strategic move by Bani Umayyah, very strategic, and that's when the security started to heighten, and even the fact that Ubaydullah bin Ziyad can enter Kufa dressed like Imam Hussein alayhi salam, and the whole people are upwarding for Abu Abdullah, just shows that the security of Kufa wasn't strong enough. So Ubaydullah made a reform and started to scare off all of the followers of Muslim because of that.
Yeah, 100%. One of the interesting things that you just pointed to was that Yazid and Ubaydullah ibn Ziyad worked together. And Sheikh Ali Saftari brought to my attention earlier when we were discussing this on another night that Yazid didn't really like Ubaydullah ibn Ziyad. There's a sentence, I forgot exactly what it said, but basically they weren't friends. Like, they didn't like one another, but they were able to work together to achieve their sinister goals. And you can see on the other side of the coin, Muslim and Mukhtar and Hani and the elite followers of the Imam were also working together to try to achieve their goals. And it seems that teamwork and working together is an important component of representing the Imam in a foreign land. Sheikh Ali Safdeh, because you brought that to our attention, I'm sure you got a couple points you could add there.
Inshallah, yeah. Teamwork, I think, is an important theme in the story of Muslim ibn Aqeel. And there is a few points here. You mentioned one. The exact phrase that's been mentioned in numerous books of history, I'll just read one here. It says, كَانَ يَزِيدُ أَبْغَضَ النَّاسِ فِي عُبَيْدِ اللَّهِ ibn Ziyad. He just did not like him. أَبْغَضَ النَّاسِ. He really, really hated him, right? And then he says, وَإِنَّمَا احْتَاجَ إِلَيْهِ. But he really was in this desperate need for him. فَكَتَبَ عَلَيْهِ. So he wrote to him that you should go to Kufa and take charge of the issue at hand. Now, this is the enemy, right? But this has a lesson for us, a very important lesson for us in the West, especially when it comes to community work, even when it comes to scholars and students of the Hawza, students of knowledge being able to communicate with one another, right? Yazid, despite this utmost hate for Ibn Ziyad, they are able to get together and achieve a common goal. Our enemies can do this. But many a times, we as the Shia, as the people clinging onto the creed of Ahlul Bayt, sometimes being claiming to be representatives of this creed, are just putting on one-man shows, distributing our efforts as opposed to bringing them together. There is, what this reminds me of at the same time as well, what Imam Ali tells his, out of frustration, out of utmost frustration, he comes and tells his people, فَيَا عَجَبًا يَا عَجَبًا, like, I'm so surprised, so much so that the heart would die right? This is his expressions. يميت القلب ويجلب الهم. That the heart dies and it attracts all worries of the world, all sadness. What's happened, Imam Ali? What's going on? Why are you so surprised? من اجتماع هؤلاء القوم على باطلهم. That this group of people are able to gather around their batil, their falsehood, but you and I وتفرقكم عن حقكم, while you and I are distributed and divided on our haqq, on what we perceive to be the haqq. And unfortunately, that's teamwork was a failing component in the people with the people of Kufa. There was a question earlier, why was one man able to change the situation so quickly? Well, he used all his forces. You know, the first thing Ibn Ziyad did, what was his first order? Go and call me the tribes that are non-partisan. They're on neither side. Go and pay them. Get them to be on our sides. Let's display a resistance. Straight away, he was building his forces, growing his wings. Whereas with the people of Kufa in the beginning, they showed a lot of support, but they were not working together. Muslim ibn Aqeel would, as the true representative of the Imam, would have a say. They would try to come to a conclusion, but others would have a different say. With regards to the topic of teamwork as well, the first meeting that Muslim ibn Aqeel, do you want us to go there, Shaykhana? Would you want us? The first meeting, the first meeting that Muslim ibn Aqeel had with the Ahl Kufa and their leaders. I think there are a few key points we can take from there in terms of teamwork as well.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah, so when he first reads the letter of Imam Hussein to them, and there is an individual by the name of Abis Shakiri. I assume this would be the same Abis that joins the Imam later on. And he, the first person, he gets up, he praises Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he says to Muslim, I do not care about the people of Kufa. I am completely worryless about what they want to do, right? What's in their hearts, Allahu A'lam. But I can tell you what's in my heart, that I will stand by you until I am murdered and I reach the state of martyrdom. Now, there's 2 points to take from this story. And Habib ibn Mazahir follows suit right after him. Point number 1 is that even some individuals in elites of Kufa knew the weakness of the unity of the people of Kufa, that they can shatter. The second point is, look at the initiative that Abis is taking. As the first person, he is there displaying that I don't care what happens, I am standing, right? And I think once again, this is a practical point that we can apply to community work we do in Sydney, in Australia, in the West. You know, there's a verse of the Quran, قُلْ إِنَّمَا أَعِظُكُمْ بِوَاحِدًا أَن تَقُومُوا لِلَّهِ مَثْنَى وَفُرَادًا ثُمَّ تَتَفَكَّرُوا. If there is one thing that I wish to advise you, is that you rise as 2 people, and if you can't find someone who is going to be rising with you to do something, to make an initiative, then wahidan, only yourself. Make a decision, make a determination to do something. Taking initiatives, I think, is something that we critically lack in, I'm talking about myself first and foremost. We see there are certain vacancies, areas that require work to be done, and we're complacent. We just let it pass by. We're not taking the initiative. We're not, who knows that in that story of that happened in that house of Mukhtar, after Abis Shakiri shows that initiative, this is literally the words of history. Then the people started to give allegiance. ثم اختلف أهل الكوفة بعده. The people of Kufa started coming to the house of Mukhtar, giving their allegiance. So one person's initiative can go a long way. And sometimes we wait on each other to do a lot of things. I wonder if you have any thoughts on this, Shaykhana. This verse is a favorite verse of mine. And Imam Khomeini, when he was young, when he was 20, I think in his 20s, the first public announcement, if you like, a letter he has written, he quotes this verse at 25. So it's like, I'm doing my duty at 25, right? Or however old he was. And look what a man he became. He was able to change the world. And Yeah, what thoughts do you
Son-
have on this
son-
this part of the story?
Yeah, look, there's so much to take from that. One couple things, initiative that you mentioned, and also just the fact that we're not working together. You
Mm.
touched upon that at the beginning of your talk there, and that's something that shot right into my mind, right? I'll give you an experience I've had a couple years ago when we were able to actually go and hold majalis and in person, because last year we weren't, but a few years ago, I was giving 2 lectures a night, similar to I am now, and I gave one lecture in Markaz Irshad in Granville, and one lecture in Rockdale.
Mm.
And mashallah, the lecture in Granville in Markaz Irshad was huge. They have a huge community. There was, a few thousand people would attend. There was
MashaAllah.
two factory warehouses right next to each other, full.
Wow.
Right, one for the brothers, one for the sisters, and it was probably the biggest crowd that I've ever spoken in front of. Like there was so many people, and then I'd finish that lecture and I'd rush and drive all the way down to Rockdale, about a half hour away, and there were, there was a good numbers there as well too. But the interesting point was the brothers and sisters in Rockdale never even heard of Markaz Irshad. They didn't even know it existed. Right? There's thousands of people crying for Imam Hussein 30 minutes away that I don't even know exist.
Wow.
Right? And the same probably could be said the other way as well. I mean, obviously, in Rockdale, you have Masjid Zahra. In Arncliffe, it's the first Shia masjid. Like, I'm sure many people know that Masjid Zahra exists. But it's just amazing that even here in Australia, even as a minority, right? You mentioned ulama don't work together. Like, communities don't even know other communities exist. You know what I mean? Forget about working together. We don't even know we exist. And I feel that huge progress needs to be made in this field. And I was talking to you, Ali, right before this lecture, right? Or this talk that we're having, that just me and you on Friday nights, just instead of it being one person speaking, we're speaking together. And then in these Muharram, where we have the pleasure to have Sheikh Mohammed Dahani as well. Like, I feel just bouncing ideas off each other, working together is more effective. Now, obviously, the crowd would have to confirm that, but I feel that it is personally. And just us, not that we're doing anything big, you know what I mean? We're just sitting here working together to try to spread the message of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, right? It's something that needs to improve. What do you think, Sheikh Mohammed?
Wallah, Sheikh, just to use what we're talking about now and bring it back to Muslim, teamwork and just connecting with each other in the communities is definitely one of the main teachings of Islam, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't say Iyaka a'budu, it says Iyaka na'budu wa Iyaka nasta'in. It's you that we obey and we pray to. So I think if there is one more quality that Muslim Ibn Aqeel alayhi salam possessed that made the teamwork that he had very valuable, and that was Muslim was not reactive to his situation. It was proactive. And this is so important because in a situation where, even at some stage, he had the upper hand where he's got, 18,000 people telling him, we have your back, we pledge allegiance. Even when there's a sort of level of power, Muslim doesn't react to the situation. When he's presented with the opportunity to abduct and kill Ubaydullah bin Ziyad, still he says no. We're not reactive. As a Muslim, I'm not allowed to be reactive. I can't react to my situation. If someone upsets me here, I react like this. If someone does something to me here, I react like this. It says there's a mission There's an end goal. I'm here for a task. I can only focus my efforts on this task. And the beauty, like when we're living in today's society and we're saying we are the ashab and the ansar and we are the representatives of Sahib al-Amr, Ajallah Ta'ala Faraj Sharif, the question I want to ask to myself first and foremost is, I'm making a very profound claim. How much do I back it up with proactivity and action? Like, okay, if there's a lecture, if there's a program, I'll go and attend. Okay, it's fine. But when was the last time I proactively done something for Sahib al-Zaman? Not waiting for anyone, not waiting for the mosque, not waiting for, scholar X or scholar Y, or every single one of us has tools and we have equipment and we have opportunity and we have knowledge and we have internet and we have the ability to do so much for this message. Like, it's not just about, oh, I want to go to speaker's corner and make everyone Shia. Bro, that's not the goal. The goal isn't to make everyone Shia or everyone Muslim or everyone do taqleed on the person that you do taqleed to. That's not what the goal of Islam is. The goal is just literally become the best version of yourself, obey God to reach your perfection, and spread Islam through your actions. كونوا دعاة لنا بغير ألسنتكم, Imam Sadiq alayhi salam says. So Muslim, to come back to the topic, Muslim was very proactive in this message. Muslim, in the times of secrecy, he knew how to work. In the times where he needed to propagate, and the times where things got tough and he had to stand at the gate of the qasr and cause a havoc in Kufa, he did. It's not like he was scared, and when the time came and they wanted to fight Muslim, they had 60, 70 guys and they couldn't. They had to, at the end of the day, they had to, are you sure? Can we stop this fight? Like, yeah, Muslim, are you okay? Can we just pause? They couldn't hack it anymore. So we're not talking about a weak person that was hiding. We're talking about a strong person that was planning. And we all have that strength, and we can plan and we can strategize and we can be proactive for this message. The question is how, and everyone can do it in their own way. What do you think, Sheikh?
I think I've heard a few different things that we can do. Be proactive, right? Show initiative, which is similar. Be unified with one another, and be mirrors to Imam al-Zaman. Obviously, we're going to fall short of that, but try our best, right? One of the questions that's up there that is an interesting question is in regards to the people of Kufa. I can't read it because it's so small. Ali, can you read the top one? Yeah. Can you read that one?
What signs can we look for in ourselves today that are similar to the people of Kufa to avoid?
And I think that's a really interesting question, right? Because we're looking at what can we do, but I think we also need to look at knowing your enemy. And obviously, the people of Kufa, I'm not calling them the enemy, but they fell short, right? They fell short. What made them fall short? Right? What can we learn from the mistakes of the people of Kufa? Because just as you said, Sheikh Tahani, Sheikh Muhammad, we're pretty much doing the same thing for Imam Zaman alayhi salam. We're praying for him to come, lead us, be our leader, come, we'll follow you, we're ready for you. We're pretty much, we're not writing letters, but in our hearts, we're saying the same things that the people of Kufa said to Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Now, what makes us sure that when the Imam comes and in the same way that when the Imam comes, it will be difficult to follow him. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be something simple that, yay, the Imam's here and now I'm his pure follower, right? What makes us the same or different?
There's if I can just butt in quickly before Sheikh Ali mentions, there's a very profound piece of introduction actually to one of the books, a mystic scholar. I read this a long time ago. He mentions it in the beginning of his book. I think it's Ayatollah Burjurdi. I'm not too sure exactly who it was, but he mentioned something very, very, very special. He says, and he was trying to speak to the people and explain You know, when we say that, Ya Sahib Zaman, we're waiting for you, Ajalallah Ta'ala Faraj Sharif, we await the arrival. And, you know, we're so certain that we are going to be of the companions, and we're so certain that we're going to fight with Sahib Zaman. Under what premise are you telling me as a Shia today, that there's a high chance and it's likely that I won't be strong enough for the Imam? But I'm telling you, I love him so much. Like, how can you claim that, no, I won't answer the call of Imam Mahdi? Are you serious? Have you seen how much I love Imam Mahdi? So he answers this in a very, it's a very nice thing. He says, look at the Quran. He says, look at the relationship between you and the Quran today. He says, this Quran is the Imam, and your Imam that's in the absence is in Ghaiba, is the Imam. He's also, he's the Imam, he's the Quran al-Natiq. He says, if you're not giving importance to the Quran due to your daily obligations, and you didn't have time, and you were busy, and you had this and you had that, and I finished work late and I didn't have time and I was too tired, and every day, day in, day out, finding different excuses, that is how you're going to treat Imam Mahdi. If you make excuses to the Quran, it sounds so simple, but that's what's going to happen with Sahib al-Zaman. That he's going to ask things from you the same way that Muslim asked from Ahl Kufa. He's going to ask, and the same way that Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad threatened the people that were with Muslim, with their time, with their lives, with their children, with their wives, with their money, with their freedom, with their comfort. You know, it's okay to, we're not saying, hey, throw everything aside and, you know, live under a rock. It's know how much significance to give to each part of your life. And don't give anything more significance than your relationship to Sahib al-Amr. And that's why there were people that left with Muslim or went for, like, for example, Muslim ibn Awsaja, although there was Muslim by himself and there was only 2 or 3 people left after he finished his salat, that like, final salah, he told them, you guys leave. They're going to kill me anyway. Go to Karbala. Go to Imam Hussein. Go fight with him. And they did. And they went and fought with Imam Hussein alayhi salam, 2 or 3 of them. So that's how beautiful the companions of Imam Hussein alayhi salam were. Look at the companions. Out of 18,000, 2 went. And we're claiming to be the companions of Imam Mahdi. And we're saying we have 100 million, 500 million, 18,000 people, and 2 made it to Karbala. You know, so yeah. Sheikh Ali, what do you think?
That was inspirational, to say the least. And it just makes you, you know, go into introspection. Every time, you know, it's really easy to be saying these words if they're just words, but when you look inside yourself, I'm talking about myself, everyone in their circle of influence, we see how much we're lacking and how much we possibly can do. One trait I think that ties with this idea of introspection is honesty about our abilities. And once again, if you look into the first gathering that Muslim ibn Aqeel has with these groups, I just told you about what Abbas said. He was very brave, very loud and vocal about his support to the end. And he showed it. He proved it correct. Habib ibn Madahir joined Imam Hussein in Karbala. Hani al-lahum. They did their part. There's another individual that gets up after them, and his reply was very interesting to me. His name is Hajjaj ibn Ali. He tells Muslim, I like to be victorious with my group. You are the group. We are all under the banner of Imam Hussein. I will join you guys if we're victorious, but I will not join you guys if we're going to be martyred. Okay? At first, you're thinking, wow, this guy just broke the vibe. You know, everyone is going with the trend. Labbaika ya Hussein. We're going to give our lives. We need you as our Imam. And then this guy just says, look, guys, I'm going to be very honest. And he says this, Ana akrahu an akdhibu. I really despise lying. I don't want to lie. I'll tell you what I can offer. Now, it's a bit comical, but there's a lot that can be learned. There's a hadith from Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. The madhmoon is this. The wording might be a bit different. Rahimallahu imra'an arafa qadrih wa arafa qadra nafsih. May Allah bless the soul of the person that knows his abilities and his limitations. And I think the وَلَمْ يَتَعَدَّ حَدَّ, and he continues that he does not transgress his limits, and he understands what potentials he has. How many times do we get into groups of motivated, excited, sometimes younger brothers and sisters, sometimes older, they get together to create this new fresh youth group, this new Facebook group, this new university society, you name it. Very excited, committing from day one, buying a lot of merchandise, going hard out, saying we're going to be with you till the end, and then backing out because there is no level of introspection from the beginning. Are we really honest with our abilities? Are we able to deliver with our promises? And this is once again, very applicable to our local communities and local youth groups. I was part of many of youth groups before I traveled to the holy city of Qom. But being as an active individual in these groups, I can tell you some of the fallbacks, some of the problems we face. The end result of that is a negative effect on the surrounding. When these groups rise and they fall with a short period of time of working, what's the image we're sending out? That we can never produce something with consistency. Because from the beginning, even the verse I was just, by the way, I tested negative for COVID, so these coughings shouldn't worry you. The verse I recited earlier, إِنَّمَا أَعِظُكُمْ بِوَاحِدَ أَن تَقُومُوا لِلَّهِ مَثْنَى وَفُرَادَى ثُمَّ تَتَفَكَّرُوا. Yes, combine yourselves. Even if you're one person yourself, combine your will, your determination, make a decision to do something. ثُمَّ تَتَفَكَّرُوا. Sit down, plan. Not just a 1 month plan, not a 6 month plan, a 5-year plan, a 10-year plan. You want to be looking at a steady road of achieving your goals, having milestones that are achievable for this group of people. I think that's one of the things that we can definitely work on. And the people of Kufa had this. They were very sensationalized. Yes, Muawiyah died. They were waiting for a wave, for a change. They started chanting, Ya Aba Abdullah, like you said. You're bringing the main cards, money, wives, children, job. Suddenly, see you later. Who's the new guy? I want to say hi to him. And a lot of people did, wal-'iyadhu billah. Like we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help us. Everyone gets tested differently. And we shouldn't be so quick to judge people. But nonetheless, that's the reality we face. I think there are times we're not entirely honest about our abilities. Sometimes we're lacking confidence in our abilities by not joining together, as we mentioned earlier with teamwork, but sometimes the opposite. We're overconfident with what we can do from our little corners of the world. And sometimes, Sheikh Ahmed, this links to the idea of caution. This overzealousness, if you like, this overconfidence looks like arrogance at times. We're not doing anything. We're becoming keyboard warriors, shouting out the biggest and most serious of political, social accusations at times, or just slogans. And sometimes they're truthful, not necessarily accusations. These are truthful. But we're not practicing any form of, because we're not doing any planned work and everyone is on his own and everyone's just representing their own opinions, then there's no caution. We're just saying whatever we feel is true. What
I agree.
role
I feel that we're not strategic as well. We need to be strategic. There was I was mentioning in the lecture I did before this, when I was in the UK, there was this huge BDI movement, boycott movement, and I remember they produced a pamphlet, and in this pamphlet, pretty much every single product that you would buy has an issue, right? And you'd go to the UK version of Woolies or whatever, and you couldn't find, like, it would be a struggle to fill your cart up with household necessities. Like, it'd be difficult, right? And I remember one of the brothers, who his name was Sayyid Bilal Rizvi, so shout out to him. One of the brothers I was with, he said, look, if we throw all of these products at people, what they're going to do is they're going to look at them, they're going to say, but if we pick one company and we say, let's boycott this one company, everyone all together, the likelihood of that actually happening is greater. And then if everyone boycotts that one company, the other companies will look and say, oh no, hopefully we're not the next one, right? And the purpose of the boycott would be actualized, it would be achieved, and people would be more likely to take part. And this is just being strategic. I felt that it was a good strategy to employ. So definitely I agree that, you know, caution and strategy is something that's needed. And there is, you know, being overzealous can, you know, cause a negative, you know, it could be detrimental to the cause, because it could shut people's ears to what you're saying and just say that this person's a fanatic. You know what I mean? There's no reason to listen to this person. He has nothing valuable to say, right? There's a couple more questions here. Let's hit these questions because our time is running out. What's the top question, Ali?
But if Imam Mahdi interprets Quran, how do I know I'm doing the right thing by Quran without Imam Mahdi? So essentially asking, how can I act with the Quran if the Imam is not
I
there?
think that's that's possibly a misinterpretation of what Sheikh Mohammed Dahani was saying. Sheikh Mohammed Dahani was saying that if we want to look and see if we are going to be true to our claim that we're followers of Imam Zaman alayhi salam, let's look at how we treat the Quran right now. And if we're treating the Quran in the way that we should be treating the Quran, then maybe. But if we're not, if we're giving excuses to the Quran, if we're not giving importance to the Quran because of our daily lifestyle, because of our daily responsibilities, then most likely that will be the same when the Imam comes and we need to give, you know, heedance to him, we'll probably be giving those same excuses. So I'm assuming that's where the question came from, but that question in itself has opens up huge doors about interpretation of the Quran and whether or not we can do tafsir of the Quran, or do we need to only listen to the Ahlul Bayt alayhim salam with tafsir. That opens up a huge conversation that I think is outside of the scope of our conversation right now. Last question, and this is a question, Sheikh Dahani, maybe you could tackle as you get into your segue into the Masa'ib. It's, why didn't Muslim ibn Aqeel send a message to Imam Hussein alayhi salam before it was too late to warn him that the people of Kufa have turned their backs on Imam Hussein alayhi salam?
No. So I'm actually going to read a few bits of the end of the life of Muslim, or before he reaches the end, but the last moments of Muslim, because it sort of answers this question. But first and foremost, before I get into that, Muslim ibn Aqeel actually he actually did send 2 messengers before. So once he realized that things are getting unstable, he did ask 2 of his close companions to go and tell this this message. And especially in the last battle, in the last fight he was having, he also mentioned that another time to one of the people. But before, when Muslim arrives to the palace, Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad, he arrives to the palace of Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad, and after what has happened, Muslim looks at, khalas, he's certain, he knows that he's going to be thrown off the roof of the palace, and he knows he's going to die and he'll be a martyr. So he tells them, I want to give my will, my wasiyah. So they say, okay. He says, he looks around for someone that's related to him, and he found Umar bin Sa'd, who's his cousin actually. So he begins to tell him his wasiyah, and one of those things is, he tells him, he says, please tell Abu Abdullah al-Hussein alayhi salam, send 2 messengers for me, and tell him what happened. Tell him that the people left me. Tell him that I'm alone. Tell him that you know, the letter that I had sent you earlier, the people have backed out. And he was giving this wasiyah in secret. Ubaidullah bin Ziyad asks him what's he saying. He tells him what he said, and then he says, Ubaidullah bin Ziyad tells the Muslim, he says, look, this is your wasiyah, and I'm going to respect it. Okay, a few of the things in this wasiyah I'm not going to allow, but we will tell Hussein. And then he says, but I want to ask you a question. And this is, Sheikh Hamid mentioned this earlier, but just to phrase on it. He says, ولكن أريد أن تخبرني يا ابن عقيل بماذا أتيت إلى هذا البلد? Why did you come to Kufa? Did you come to spread fitna? Did you come to cause havoc? فقال مسلم بن عقيل ليس لذلك أتيت إلى هذا البلد ولكنكم أظهرتم المنكر ودفعتم المعروف وتأمرتم على الناس من غير رضا وحملتموهم على غير ما أمركم الله به وعملتم فيهم بأعمال كسرى وقيصر فآتيناهم لنا لنأمر فيهم بالمعروف وننهاهم عن المنكر وندعوهم إلى حكم الكتاب والسنة. That was the beauty of Muslim ibn Aqeel. Muslim ibn Aqeel, he knew, he arrived to Kufa with one goal, one mission. That I am coming to uphold the mission of Imam Hussein alayhi salam, Amr al-Ma'ruf, Nahi al-Munkar. And the people couldn't fathom and couldn't withstand the pain that Ubaidullah bin Ziyad was mentioning. So let us inshallah enter this musibah real quickly with a loud salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali. Sallallahu alayka ya mawlaya ya Rasulallah. Sallallahu alayka وعلى ابنك المظلوم الشهيد العطشان الظمآن حسين. السلام عليك سيدي وعلى أخيك ووصيك المظلوم العطشان. Muslim has arrived in Kufa, surrounded by loved ones and companions. Weeks pass and the fitna begins to grow. Ibn Marjana arrives and begins to throw fitna, and the tribes begin to leave. Danger, Muslim is now all alone. Kufa has decided to let go. Taw'a, oh man, what do you need? Muslim walks and he's by himself in the streets of Kufa, and he arrives at the doorstep of Taw'a. Taw'a, oh man, what do you need? Water, lady, I beg to quench my thirst. Stranger, I walk the streets alone. No friend, no guide, no clue, no friend, no guide, no clue where to go. Muslim, my name, Ya Taw'a, not so strange, messenger of the great Hussein. Enter my master all alone. This would be the last time Muslim would enter another home. خذلوني كذبوني أغروني أبا عبد الله ولكن يا طوع ما حال الحسين يا حسين.
صلى الله عليك يا رسول الله صلى الله عليكم يا أهل بيت النبوة وموضع الرسالة ومختلف الملائكة ومهبط الوحي ومعدن الرحمن وخزان العلم ومنتهى الخير صلى الله عليك يا أبا عبد الله صلى الله عليك أيها المظلوم صلى الله عليك أيها الشهيد بكربلاء عطشانا. May Allah's peace and blessings be upon you, O our dear Imam al-Hussein, our beloved oppressed Imam who was slaughtered by the shores of the Furat whilst his mouth was dry from thirst. Inshallah, tonight we'd like to remember the sacrifice of the first of the shuhada of the movement of Imam al-Hussein, the one whom Aba Abdullah sent as his representative to Kufa, Muslim ibn Aqeel. Even though Muslim was martyred on the 9th of Dhul Hijjah, but we cannot remember Karbala without remembering Muslim. When Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam received thousands of letters from the people of Kufa pleading and desperately asking Imam to come, Imam alayhi salam sent his cousin Muslim to assess the situation there. Muslim, on arriving in Kufa, receives a very warm welcome from the Shi'as in Kufa. And on seeing this, he sends a letter to Imam al-Hussein, "O Imam, please make your way to Kufa. Your Shi'as here are ready for you." But it wasn't long before Ibn Ziyad starts threatening the Shi'as that whoever is found supporting Muslim will be killed. Gradually, the people of Kufa who are surrounding Muslim began to get fewer and fewer. It is said that by the time Muslim finished his last salah in Masjidul Kufa, there was no follower behind him. Everyone had left the representative of the Imam. He walks all alone in the lonely streets of Kufa, moving door to door, worried about how he'd be able to tell Imam al-Hussein not to come to Kufa. Now Muslim becomes thirsty and tired. He sits by a door to take some rest. A lady by the name of Taw'a, one who loved the Ahlul Bayt, opens the door and says, "Oh man, the city isn't very safe. Why don't you go home? Who are you, oh man?" Muslim replies saying, "I'm gharib, I'm lonely, I have nowhere to go. I'm the cousin of Hussein bin Ali. The people of this city invited Hussein to come, but now have forsaken him." As soon as Taw'a hears the name of Hussein, she couldn't hold back her tears. She feels ashamed and immediately offers Muslim protection in her house for the night. Muslim, this man of God, this loyal servant of his Imam, spends the rest of the night reciting the Quran, spends the rest of the night in ruku', in sujood, in munajat with Allah, all the while thinking of Imam al-Hussein, until a time when he hears the horses of Ibn Ziyad coming closer and closer, and the soldiers calling him out. The soldiers corner Muslim from all around. They throw stones and spears and arrows at Muslim. He holds many back, but eventually the cowardly enemies manage to capture him. They drag him along the streets of Kufa all the way to the palace of Ibn Ziyad, with the same people who had initially written invitation letters to Imam Hussein alayhi salam, now just looking on. Muslim is held before Ibn Ziyad. Ibn Ziyad orders Muslim to be taken to the roof of the palace and to be beheaded, and for his body to be thrown to the ground. Muslim at this stage was severely wounded and bleeding profusely. He asks for some water, but every time he'd bring the cup to his mouth, it would fill with blood, and so he couldn't drink. Muslim's eyes were now seen filled with tears, and someone said to him, "A brave man like you should not fear death, O Muslim." Muslim looks to him and replies, "Bukai ala sayyidi wa mawlaya ya Aba Abdillah. My tears are for my master Aba Abdullah al-Hussein." Then the report says, ثُمَّ إِلْتَفَتَ إِلَى الْمَكَّةِ. Then he turned his face towards Makkah, إِلَى جِهَةِ الْحُسَيْن, وهو يقول السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله. He turns towards Makkah to the direction of Imam al-Hussein and sends his last salams to his master. Perhaps Muslim's heart will be crying out to Ya Aba Abdullah, "Please don't come to Kufa, O Imam. I can see these people sharpening their swords to kill you." I can see these people planning to cut off the arms of Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas. I can see Harmala sharpening his arrow to kill your Ali al-Asghar. It is as if I can see Shimmer sitting on your chest, O Abu Abdullah. ألا لعنة الله على القوم الظالمين وسيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون.
Thank you very much to our dear shuyukh for a very engaging discussion today. Alhamdulillah, it's a very passionate discussion tonight and very inspirational. Inshallah, we've all taken something from that. And thank you to our dear brother Abbas Birji for reciting the Masa'ib, such a beautiful and heart-touching voice. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Also, if anyone is able to help us with the Muharram programs with your time and expertise, please feel free to step up and give us a message on our social media. I guess in tying with tonight's program, you can look at that as something you're doing in preparation for our dear Imam Ajalallah Farajah Sharif. And that's it for tonight's program. Thank you all for joining us. Inshallah, we will see you all tomorrow night. Stay safe. Assalamu alaikum.